Hey, Ronnie Dale for wheelingwesternaustralia.com and welcome to a video all about tyres. So what we are actually going to cover in this video are handy tips so you know if you are running overinflated, underinflated. We're going to talk about all the codes around the tyre so you understand it, and we're also going to make sure that we pick a tyre that actually has the correct load capacity for your vehicle. Also, is the tyre on your vehicle now, does it actually have the right load capacity? And are you running the right PSI? All that kind of stuff. So if you already have tyres or if you're looking for tyres, this video is for you. Quick shout out to Brad from Integrity Tyres in Wangara, Western Australia. He has lent me these two tyres so I can demonstrate some of the codes and bits and pieces. He's even lent me this cross section of a Toyo mud terrain tyre. So the same ones that I'm running on my vehicle. Obviously this one here is a smaller version of it. All right. First things first, let's get the common knowledge part out of the way. Now, a lot of people probably don't know this, so I'm going to run through this, and if you already know this, skip to the next part. All right, we're going to talk about how to actually read the tyre size. Now, we'll take the imperial measurement first. That blue writing's a bit distracting. So, as you can see, on this tyre, we have 31 by 10.5 R15 LT. The LT means light truck tyre. The 15 means the rim that it actually sits on. And the 31 is the overall height. The 10.5 is the width of the tyre. So really what you mainly will be looking at is the 31 inches. So you know it's a 31 inch tyre. But that gets a bit complicated when we get to the mixed up measurements. Well, it's imperial and metric, and there's percentage in it as well. Really confusing, really. I don't know why they do it this way. So you can either go for the easy inch way of doing it, the imperial way, or you can go for the complex way. Now this LT, light truck tyre, 285, that is the width of the tyre in millimeters, /75, this is the aspect ratio. So this 2-digit number is the aspect ratio. So it is 75% of 285, which equates to 214 if you round it up. That is the height of this tyre. R16, that is a radial tyre which suits a 16-inch rim. So that means this can only go on a 16-inch rim. Now most of you guys probably already knew this. Now the interesting fact here though, if you take the imperial tyre, you can change the other two measurements. You can change the width of the tyre, you can change the different rim it sits on. But as long as it still says 31, it's a 31-inch tyre. On the other hand, if you change any of these digits on here, it will change the size of the tyre because you have the aspect ratio. So if you change this to a 315, 75 R16, it goes from a roughly 33-inch to a 35-inch. So a bit more complex here, but you can get tyre converters, calculator converters on the internet. The next thing we will look at is the load rating and speed rating. Now, speed rating you can only find by reading these little numbers on the inner rim. That's where most of the information is. With load rating, you will find it still written in small letters on most tyres. It will tell you, for example, max load for a single tyre, 1700 kilograms, that's 1.7 tonne at maximum PSI. So that is only at 80 PSI it can hold that much weight. So that is something you really need to keep in mind. If you lower your tyres, it is not performing at the same weight capacity. So therefore, in my opinion, it is always better to get something like this that can hold 1700 kilograms, because if you lower the tyre pressure, you know it's still holding heaps of weight. As opposed to, prime example over here, there's actually two things that I want to enlighten you about here. The first one, this tyre in particular, just the size and everything, its weight capacity is only 1,030 kilos. So it is almost 700 kilograms less than this of weight that it can hold. Now the interesting thing is, this can change. This specific size, 10-inch, well, 31 by 10.5 inch on a 15-inch rim. If you got another variant of this on a 16-inch rim, it can hold a lot more weight So something to really consider here. If you have a vehicle running on 15-inch rims, honestly, look at getting 16-inch rims, because with a 16-inch rim, all the load capacities on most tyre manufacturers on their tyres jumps up quite a bit. And here's how you can actually tell without having to read this, because when you're actually looking for tyres, you can't see this little writing. You don't get to see how many kilograms it can hold. You get this code down here. So you have the size code next to the size code after your R16 or whatever it is. So 126/123 Q. The Q is the speed rating. We'll cover that next. But this is the load rating. So I have a chart here which I downloaded from the interwebs. 123 equals 1550. 126 equals 1700. Now it has two numbers here because it allows for a vehicle that can have two tyres next to each other. You know, like the big Dodge Rams, they'll have two tyres next to each other. The load capacity changes slightly when you put two next to each other than if you have a one. But we're just worrying about one here. So one is 126. Now that corresponds to here, 1700 kilos, corresponds to the chart, 1700 kilos. So when you're looking online for tyres, you won't see what the weight is, but you will have the 126 or 109 or whatever it is. So that's where you check to see how much weight this tyre can actually hold without wasting your time going to a tyre shop and then realising, hang on, it can only carry a tonne. Now a tonne is heaps, right? But not when you lower your tyre, because that load rating, like this one here, if I had two of these on the back of my Land Cruiser, my Land Cruiser is quite heavy. We're not going to talk about weight here. We'll avoid that conversation. These can carry a tonne each, right? So my rear axle is then rated at 2 tonne at this tyre. Okay? So it doesn't matter what everything else is. It could be more, it doesn't matter. The tyre is what's contacting the ground. If this can only carry 2 tonne, then you are limited to 2 tonne, because that's what it's rated at. You don't want to be overloading it and then blowing a tyre. So say you are at that limit, close to the limit, you lower your tyres. Now your load capacity is less on this tyre, like I've been saying a few times now. So keep that in mind. Make sure you get a tyre that can actually hold more load than what you need, so when you do lower your tyres, it can still perform and it won't blow out on you or damage the tyre. Speed rating. This one here is not so relevant, but if you would like to know what the speed rating is of your tyre, then you look at the load rating numbers and then you got a letter behind it. This one here being Q, that corresponds to this other chart, which you can get on the internet. 160 kilometers per hour or 99 miles per hour. Take this tyre here. We have 109S. So low capacity, less. Speed rating, higher. S, 180 kilometers per hour, 112 miles per hour. Let's be honest though. Speed rating, so long as you are at 150, do you really need more? Not really. You're not going to be, you're not going to be breaking land speed records in a four-wheel drive loaded to the brim. That's just downright stupid and dangerous, in my opinion. Now for some relevant and irrelevant information. It's kind of decoded into the same thing. So down here we have a DOT, Department of Transport. This is based on American standards. I'm pretty sure here in Australia we follow European standards. It doesn't matter. These tyres exceed all that anyway. So DOT just stands for Department of Transport. The first two letters is the plant of which the tyre is made, the factory. The second two letters are the actual side code. So this only corresponds to the manufacturers. Then we have a KLW here. This is the batch code. Now this is where things are relevant to us. That's the batch code. So say if there's a recall on batch code KLW, then you can have a look at your tyre and that's where you can see it. The next four numbers, now this is important, 3317. So the 33, the first two numbers is a week of the year. There's 52 weeks in a year. So you'll find 0, 1 all the way to 52. And then you have the last two numbers, which is the actual year. So 2017. So this is the 33rd week of 2017. So now you know that this tyre was manufactured in the 33rd week of 2017, and most tyres have a 5-year warranty on them. So any tyres older than 5 years, you probably want to get rid of them before 5 years anyway, because they start deteriorating and become a bit brittle. The next thing to look at is the PLY rating. So after your speed rating and your load rating, you have the PLY rating. So here it says 10 PR, so that means 10 PLY rating. Now the interesting fact about 10 PLY rating is it doesn't actually tell you there's 10 plies in it, it just tells you it's rated the same as 10 plies. So if it's got 8 plies or 12 plies, it doesn't matter. They deem this to be rated as a 10 ply rating. Now you can find in smaller writing down here. So the tread has 2 steel, 3 polyester, 2 nylon, and the sidewall has 3 polyester. So it does actually have 10 plies in it. So that's how you can see how many plies are in it. Mud and snow, M plus S. So does that mean that these tyres can go in mud and snow? No. In actual fact, M plus S basically just tells you that it is an all-season tyre. So it's not a winter tyre, it's not a summer tyre, it is an all-season tyre. That's all that means. If you want to know if it is a mud tyre, well then you just look for the MT, mud terrain. This here is not a mud tyre, it's an all-terrain. That's how you determine if it's a mud tyre or not. Snow tyres will have snow written on them somewhere else. So M plus S means all season tyre, 4 seasons, that's it. Let's cover the actual legality part of your tyre, your tread depth. Is your tread depth legal still? It is easy to find out on a passenger tyre, but when it comes to an off-road tyre, it is actually quite difficult to spot if you don't know what you're looking for. So on most tyres, you'll have an arrow every now and then on one of the tread blocks and sidewalls. So what you do is you follow this arrow, you follow the arrow down, and you'll see a slight raised bit in between the tread blocks. Now that raised bit is only 3 millimeters in height, and it's very hard to spot on a brand new tyre, but as you wear your tyre down, it becomes more and more obvious of where it actually is. And as long as you have 1 millimeter more, or your tread depth is higher than that indicator, then your tyre is technically legal. But I would consider it useless, because once you get below 40% on a mud terrain or an all terrain, there goes half your grip. Now for a bit of a fun fact. We'll turn this around here. Notice we have a yellow dot here, and we have a yellow dot down here. These dots indicate the lightest part of the tyre. So when a tyre is constructed, it'll have a heavy end and a light end. The light end they put a dot on, and this dot then matches up to the heavy end on a rim. So the heavy end on a rim is where your valve core is sticking out, because it's added that extra weight. So that's how fine they go down to balancing a tyre. So they will line this dot up with the valve stem. So if you pull out of a tyre shop and you got the yellow dot at the opposite end or to one of the sides, they haven't put the tyre on where it is supposed to be. And then you end up with more weights and stuff if they're trying to balance the tyre. So it's in their best interest anyway to balance your tyre, to put the valve core towards the yellow dot. Now let's talk about, are you overinflated or underinflated? So let's take this cutout of a tyre. If you are underinflated on the highway, your tyre is going to bulge like this, and it's going to ride on the outside edges. It's going to ride on this edge and that edge. The middle won't have any contact with the ground most of the time. On the other hand, if you are overinflated, I'm just going to warp it a bit to emphasize, you'll be running on the middle. And the middle of your tyre is where most of your control is when you're steering and driving and all that. That's where you're mainly driving on. So if you have too much air in your tyre, you've got less contact with the ground for a start, and you're going to wear out the vital part of your tyre, which is right in the middle. Ideally, you want it to be as flat as possible. Of course, when we do off-roading, things change. We need to deflate so we can go over certain things, but we are not going at high speed. So this is high speed driving. When you're traveling with a load, make sure that you have a nice flat contact with the actual road. Now, a good way to check this is, in fact, you have a buddy following you, or you're following someone else. You might be following a mate. You can see the back tyres. You can see what they are doing. You can see if they're bulging a bit, or bulging the other way. You can actually let people know if they are overinflated or underinflated, or hey, maybe you should just check your tyres out. I hope I have enlightened you with some tips in this video and how to read all this stuff and how some of it isn't as it seems. So thank you very much for watching. Hey, if you're not sure whether to get a all-terrain or a mud-terrain, there's a video right there. You can subscribe right here. And if you'd like to support the creation of content like this, patreon.com/Ronnie Dahl. See you in the next video. Oh, shout out to Brad again from Integrity Tyres, Wangara. Cheers.